Welcome back to the Genstead. I'm Mary. Today is Saturday, May 2nd, 2026. And WTVR News in Richmond reported, and the headline was, Virginia farmers say 2026 drought is the worst in decades. And we've heard nationwide that it is the worst in 130 years. The article went on to say, Virginia farmers are facing what some are calling the worst drought in decades, with dry conditions dating back to 2025. So they're already dealing with dry conditions, and now it's just really March was really bad. Threatening crops, driving up costs, and pushing some operations to financial edge, because a lot of our farmers have been struggling to be able to keep up with their production. At Double B Farms in Dinwiddie County, 81-year-old Billy Bain is in his 58th year of planting crops, said this drought stands out from anything he has ever seen. Bain said an entire soybean field will have to be replanted, that is if they get adequate rain, and 1,000 acres of corn are not faring any better. So he said the soil is just powder dry right now. The Virginia Farm Bureau Federation reported 95% of the Commonwealth of Virginia is in severe drought, and 8% is in extreme drought. Many farmers have paused on planting corn, soybeans, cotton, and peanuts while waiting for rain. Also, the 7-month period from September 2025 through March 2026 was the 10th driest on record for the state since 1895. The skyrocketing cost of fuel and fertilizer is creating more economic hardships for farmers. And so we have less corn, less soybeans, less wheat is going to result in less food. And I'm checking the 10-day forecast and even further out, and I'm really not seeing much in the way of rain in the next 2 weeks, other than I think there are 2 days, one day next week and one day after, where we might get some rain showers, but we were supposed to get some rain last week, never materialized for us. So, our farmers are already financially strained, and with the drought, some people say, well, can't they irrigate? Can't they be trucking in water? Well, the cost of diesel has gone up so much. I think it's $5.80 a gallon now. That puts an added financial strain on top of their fertilizer. So the fertilizer costs are skyrocketing. Not to mention there's a big constraint on the supply. Plus, when you're in a drought condition, the aquifers which they're pulling water from, those get pulled down as well, because if we're not getting adequate rain, they're not recharging. And remember, also, this affects the farmers with their livestock, because they've got to be able to feed their livestock. They've got to be able to have adequate water for their livestock. One of the articles I was reading, one farmer literally has fenced his cattle from being able to drink he's managing their water himself, as opposed to just letting them drink out of the streams, because he's trying to keep that water from going down too low. And it really seems our farmers are just getting hit from all directions, and this is going to affect the food supply. Can you imagine if we don't get any rain, any kind of relief coming in the next couple of months? That's a bust season for the farmers. And we're going to see it as far as our food costs and supply is going to be noticeable, the availability, because they're not going to have that production there. And also, it's a financial hardship for them, because that's how they make a living. And I think we're going to see we are going to continue to see inflation and supply shocks in the near future. I've heard starting this month, I think it will be noticeable this summertime. And today, last I checked, Brent crude is $110 a barrel, and I don't see that coming down anytime soon. The Hedge reported on Tuesday that 40,000 U.S. retail stores could close by 2030. And the UBS consumer analyst Michael Lasser told clients that further rise in e-commerce could force these closures. So that's going to affect employment, obviously. People are going to lose jobs. And then it's going to affect the brick and mortar, the real estate. Localities that are losing these storefronts are going to be losing that real estate revenue. And something else that I learned in this article, since 2023, more than 10,000 stores have already closed in the United States. So, and another article I came across, it said the U.S. jobs number has plunged to 189,000, the lowest level since the 1960s. According to the Department of Labor, seasonally adjusted initial claims fell to 189,000 for the week ending April 25th, down 26,000 from the previous week's revised level of 215,000. The 4-week moving average also dipped to 207,500. Economists had expected 212,000 claims, so the actual number came in far below the forecasts. And also, for the first time ever, the price of a pound of ground beef is now higher than the federal minimum wage in most states. So these are just a couple things, and then I always have to remind everyone our national debt is at $39 trillion. It keeps going up. It's close to that $40 trillion mark. And many believe, and I believe, that the actual number is at least 100 trillion, if not higher than that. So again, I'm not sharing this to scare anyone. I'm not sharing this to be negative. I'm sharing this information so that people are prepared and they're aware of what's going on, because when you turn on the TV, you're being told one version of things, but when you're actually doing some research and reading reports, the reality on the ground is very different with the state of our union, if you will. So, pray for our farmers, pray for rain, but make sure you're prepared. And again, I always say the more prepared you are, then you're in a better position to help somebody out. And so you want to make sure you've got water, you've got stocked up on water, make sure you stocked up on a food supply. Because if we see empty shelves this summer, that way it's not going to be as bad of an impact on you. We will definitely see empty shelves. To a point, we're definitely going to see an increase in costs, particularly with imports, obviously, but also within our own country, because our food producers and our wheat producers are really this is a tough environment for them to be working in there, between the drought, the Strait of Hormuz being locked down, so they're not getting so the crude is not being delivered, and the cost of fuel and diesel's up, and fertilizer. There's a supply chain issue with that, obviously, and therefore the costs are going through the roof. So again, that's going to ripple back to the consumer. And also make sure you've got your food. Make sure, just in general, that you're self-sufficient and you've got a buffer where you've got some money set aside, where you've got your food put up. Also make sure that you have safe shelter and security, and make sure that one thing you can do is have good watchdogs as a deterrent. Another thing that I think is really important for everyone is to train. Make sure you're building on your personal strength and so that you can defend yourself if you need to, and learn a martial art, or if you're more interested in the pew-pews, and make sure you're training in that. But definitely make sure that you can defend yourself if you need to, because we see and read about a lot of random attacks, home invasions, but people being carjacked, or people just randomly being attacked walking out of Ross Dress for Less. So also make sure you're stocking up on your first aid and whatever your pets may need, because the dog food has gone up. It's going to continue to go up. And as I talked about before, work to be more self-sufficient also. And for example, if you can get chickens, I have chickens and ducks, and also work on growing food. Whatever you can do to help offset these shocks to our supply system that we're going to be seeing. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. And I look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great day.